Tonight in Kyle's cabinet, he's a regular former Conservative MP Neil Parish, plus former Brexit Party MEP, and she's new to me, Alex Phillips. Lovely to see you.
Hi.
And broadcaster and former councillor Denise Headley. Let's start with you, Denise Headley. Are teachers right to strike?
Yes, they are right to strike. I think across the board, you have had teachers and all public sector workers see a reduction in their salaries in real terms as compared to the private sector. So I do think they have the right to strike, because striking, in my opinion, is a human right. It is not a right. It's not something that should be taken away. And what do you have? If you can't withdraw your labour so that you can get better working conditions, what tools do you have?
But then if I bring Serge back in, right? So Denise Headley says teachers should strike. This goes against the very ethos of what this man said he is and was. Answer Denise.
Yeah, it's a different argument, I'm afraid, Denise. I'm not saying they haven't got the right to strike. I'm just saying striking and just taking it out on the pupils and using them as political pawn is wrong, especially now. And listen, I'm a head teacher. I would love to pay my staff more. There is no question. What you just said is absolutely right. But that doesn't mean you get kids at home. I've got 50% pupil premium kids in both my schools. At some point, the line has got to be drawn. If I'd known, I would have got all those pupil premium kids. If I'd known which teachers were going out, at least get them in for a hot meal, for goodness sake. And
jump in.
You know,
If I could, Serge, what I would think is that when we look at striking teachers, we're not just looking at those at the highest part of the public sector echelon. We're looking at also your teaching staff, your ancillary staff, and all of them are striking as well. So I hear the argument that you're saying teachers are using students as a pawn, but this government has been using students as a pawn by the consistent underfunding that have taken place within our education services and across our public sector.
Listen, I'm not going to argue those points. I've had to fine 5% on average for every single teacher in my school, which has not been funded centrally. I know I'm going to have to make cuts. Pupil-teacher ratios are going to go up. I'm not daft. All I'm saying, I draw the line when the kids are impacted the way they're being impacted today.
Stay there. Neil Parish, what do you say?
I mean, I think Serge is absolutely right. You've got lots of parents out there, a lot of tough children, you know, tough life. We've really got to actually get them into school. We've got some sympathy for the teachers. A $2 billion extra was put in by the Chancellor, but I think this has got to be settled, and it's not to be settled by strike. I really don't. I disagree with the striking because I think it affects those families. They've had lockdown, all the things that you raised, and now they are still suffering from not getting a proper education. And I think many teachers do a great job, and I think what we don't want is the militant ones out on strike. I think you see many of them are on reasonably good salaries, a lot better salaries than on a lot of the parents sending their kids into school. They've got to take a day off work as well. It really is a huge problem.
Completely agree. Alex Phillips, first time on. Welcome to Jeremy Kyle Live. What I picked up from Serge Cefai was he said the louder voices in the staff room might put pressure on teachers to go out on strike today. Thatcher got rid of the closed shop because the unions were supposed to, you weren't supposed to pre-pressurise. What's your view on this today?
Let's look at what's going on here. I mean, the left smell blood, don't they? The militant left, and they're pushing for something akin to a general strike. And what's so striking about this strike is the imagery of that picket line. You had CND there, you had Free Palestine there, you had trans rights there. This is about using what is a really tumultuous economic period for a lot of the world, and there have been mistakes made, which has put, our economy into a bit of free fall as well. But it's using that, braying for blood, trying to get rid of the government, but creating more instability. And Neil's right. The people who are worse off in this situation are the poorest kids, who don't have nannies, who don't have laptops at home, whose parents can't afford to take a day off. And this constant agitation is not going to solve the issue. There are bigger questions that need to be answered. Just giving a free-for-all and throwing up everyone's wages in the public sector isn't it. And what's more, there was a discussion about, well, the public sector, they're the worst off. The private sector have it easy. I'm a lorry driver's daughter. He saw his wages go down year upon year upon year upon year. People behind checkouts don't get to strike. People driving delivery vans don't get to strike.
Well, maybe they should join a union then, because that's what's actually happened.
Denise Headley, listen to me. But with respect, surely the right to an education trumps the right to strike. You sit there and say people have a right to strike. I don't know if you have kids. I'm not being personal when I say that. But I've got messages from people here who are in bits today because
Yes.
their kids are... But you're saying it's right to strike.
It is.
Teachers get 13 weeks off a year, for God's sake. People watching this get 4 weeks if they're lucky, and they're not on 39 grand. That's the frustration.
But the children who are using, for example, teachers' assistants, they're not on that money. All the people who are in schools providing school dinners and who are cleaners, they are invariably part-time workers from marginalised communities that do not
So
have
a
the
pay
same...
rise for the poorest, not for the teachers.
Well, there should be support for all of the people who are striking across
Do you
the
think
piece.
teachers on 39 grand and 13 weeks holiday should get more money?
I think that we should be paying people fairly, especially in a cost of living crisis.
Well, let me read this, Neil. Right, so up to 300,000 teachers striking today. We asked, how have you lost out financially by having your kids at home? Anthony says, I sent them out to be looked after whilst I'm out working because I'm not having them at home playing on games consoles, ruining my TV and running up huge electricity and gas bills because I'm struggling as it is. Anon, very popular on this show. Selfish teachers, I pay their wages. Where's the quality of service? Gordon, what the hell are they striking about? More time off, what for? They were not there for the years 2020 to 22. And Martin, bad teaching policies made me take my kids out of school in 2020. I still pay my taxes, but I don't use the school system. Homeschooling is not the easy option. It's expensive and difficult, but most parents make the schools responsible and don't really care or have any idea what's happening to them. It's a criticism.
I just don't even know where pride in work has gone, quite frankly.
Exactly.
You know, I was brought up, like I said, in a working-class family. We lost out on loads of stuff. I had friends who were getting computers. We didn't have one. My mum had to get an old one from the NHS where she worked. You know, we missed out on holidays. We were brought up in difficult circumstances. But you know what? My parents just cracked on with it. And I don't remember, in that era, when I was a kid in the 80s and early 90s, I don't remember all these widespread strikes and all this other...
But you
I
had
do
a
in
completely different
79.
education
We have
system
got-
then.
we-
Hold on, what'd you say?
Well, you had a completely different education system then. You didn't have it fragmented.
Yeah,
you didn't,
grammar
you
schools, that
didn't
was
have, you
great.
didn't
Bring
have
those
trust
back for a
schools.
start.
You didn't have schools essentially managing their own budgets. Things have changed considerably in the education marketplace, and students and parents have suffered as a consequence of that. It's now a marketplace. It's not just about social questions.
Many schools actually can manage their budgets very well, and I'm not convinced that all county councils and metropolitan boroughs actually run schools better than the schools themselves. So I don't think that's the issue. I also think that we've got to get everybody into school. At home, it's not right because it's the socialisation. It's not just the education. And I think a lot of teaching assistants, all of them actually are still going into work because they need to get there. They also have the responsibility very often to special needs children as well. So all of this, I think, is... And I was listening to the rally, Jeremy, in London today, and you could tell it was just a hyped-up rally where there was no doubt that the unions actually believe...
You're smirking, but it looks like a general strike.
They've got the government on the run.
I am with
That's
Alex
what they're up
Phillips.
to.
They think they've got the Tories on the run. So much more from the Cabinet. Next on JK Live,